For more than a decade, nationally syndicated financial analyst Dave Ramsey has been offering advice on how to handle your money from biblical principles. Today in our segment, Your Money and Your Life, Dr. Howard Newell is back with us, and he's going to offer similar suggestions and his top tips on personal financial management. Dr. Newell, thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate it. I'm Howard Newell, not Dave Ramsey. All right.
Yes,
good.
sir. Just clear that up. And you were telling me earlier that these tips are mainly for college students and young adults, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
The first one I wanted to look at was your first one, which is principle number 1, that it's not our money to begin with. Can you explain that in some more detail?
Well, it's probably the number one. I take the word probably out. It is the number one principle of personal finance from a Christian perspective. And quite simply, it is the idea that the financial resources which I have are not mine. The Lord has entrusted certain resources to me, and it's my responsibility to use them, employ them in a manner that would promote His glory and not my selfishness. That's a very easy principle to talk about. It is a very challenging one to carry out on a day-by-day basis.
Yes, sir, and it's so very true, and that principle makes this next one, spending money, a little easier to swallow if you understand the first principle first. Can you explain how spending money is a biblical principle of financial management?
Well, basically there are 4 ways, very general ways to spend money. One is to give generously and joyfully. A second one is to pay our taxes. A third one is to use some of the dollars which we have and use those dollars to prepare for future needs, investments, insurance, estate planning, that kind of thing. And then the fourth one is the one we like the most, which is living joyfully today. And we tend to get, most of us, get preoccupied with that one and neglect one or more of the others, although they all relate to this idea of stewardship. Stewardship is not just giving. I'm a good steward when I pay my taxes. I'm a good steward when I prepare for my retirement or my children's education. So stewardship is a much broader concept than we might initially think it is.
Right, and generous and joyful giving is your 5th principle in your top 21. Can you explain that a little more, going off of the spending money idea?
Well, I think we're all familiar with giving, but to do it generously and joyfully and not with the idea of saying, well, it's just something I've got to do. I've got to tithe. I know I'm supposed to tithe, that kind of thing. This is an act of worship. This is an act of praise. This is an act where we can testify to the glory of God. So we need to do it with joy in our hearts.
Now, I know that in today's current financial problem, all the financial problems we're having, it might be harder for people to plan for longer-term issues. Principles 7, 8, and 9 all deal with long-term purpose. Can you explain that into some detail?
Well, that's true. I think when we're in an economic downturn, and if you as an individual or your family really get caught up in it, then you sometimes have to postpone those decisions about the future and take care of what is needed today. But when resources are more generous, then certainly a part of what we have needs to be designated for future needs.
Right, we only have about 30 seconds left now, but principles 10 and 11 both deal with short-term purpose. Can you explain that real quick?
Well, the idea, let's just take high-definition TV. If we don't have one, 2 ways to go about it. One is to say, I'm going to go out and buy it today and pay for it later. The second way is to set aside X number of dollars each month for several months, accumulate those dollars, and then go out and buy the HD TV and pay cash and not have any debt. That, I think, is what we need to do more of.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with you there. When we come back, a final look at today's weather. Stay with us as Jackson 24/7 continues.